Have you ever wondered how seemingly fringe ideas move from the academic margins, right into the heart of political power,
Hmm.
shaping not just policy, but how we even perceive politics itself? It's a profound question, really.
It really gets to the core of public discourse, doesn't it?
Exactly. So today, we're really going to dig into that. We're looking at Jason Stahl's truly illuminating book, Right Moves, the conservative think tank in American political culture since 1945.
It's a fantastic book, really groundbreaking historical work.
It really is the first of its kind to fully unravel this hidden journey. And as we navigate this complex material, you're experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM for a deeper, more dynamic book analysis.
Yeah, and our mission here essentially is to uncover how these institutions, these organizations of conservative intellectuals focusing on research, public relation, how they fundamentally transform.
From outsiders to insiders.
Precisely. Stahl meticulously traces their path from being, as he puts it, marginalized outsiders
Right.
during the New Deal and Great Society eras
Right.
to becoming genuinely influential power brokers.
Right.
And his core argument really is that these conservative think tanks fundamentally reshaped American political discourse by creating what he calls a marketplace of ideas. Now, this wasn't just a minor tweak. Its core impact was displacing that old idea of objective, technocratic policy analysis.
You mean policy based just on data and expert agreement?
Exactly. Displacing that with ideological competition.
Yeah.
And the ultimate effect, moving the entire American political spectrum, well, rightward.
So what Stahl reveals here has huge implications for how we understand our political landscape today.
Absolutely.
It means we're about to explore how the very definition of expertise, even truth in policy debates, was challenged, redefined, fundamentally altered, really.
It forces you to reconsider long-held assumptions about how policies actually get made.
Definitely. Get ready for that.
So to understand this remarkable transformation, Stahl takes us back to the early struggle, that period from, say, 1945 into the 1960s.
Okay.
During this post-war era, there was a strong liberal consensus. Conservative intellectuals, they found themselves largely sidelined.
Out of the loop.
Pretty much. The policy environment was just overwhelmingly dominated by New Deal liberalism and this idea of objective, data-driven expertise. The belief was in nonpartisan solutions, derived from careful study, not ideology.
In Stahl's research, it paints a fascinating picture of groups like the American Enterprise Institute, AEI, founded way back in 1938. How did AEI, for instance, navigate that environment? What was its role in this first stage, especially compared to the big liberal player Brookings?
Well, it's quite striking, actually. Stahl shows how AEI initially really struggled for relevance. During this period, it functioned more like a business-friendly research institute, not really an overt ideological advocate.
So less politics, more research.
Kind of. A key point Stahl makes is that conservative think tanks back then were largely expected to provide neutral research assistance,
Okay.
not push specific policies too hard. And that expectation, it was a significant constraint. It really limited their political effectiveness, their influence in those early years.
Their hands were tied, in a way.
You could say that. Their role was seen as supporting the existing framework, not really challenging it fundamentally.
But Stahl points to the late 1960s as this huge turning point. Things really start to shift then.
They do.
What was happening? What sparked such a fundamental change, according to his research?
This is where you see a deliberate, strategic counter-movement really kick off.
Yeah.
Wealthy, conservative, and libertarian donors started stepping up.
Putting money behind it.
Big time. Funding new institutions with a very clear goal to directly challenge what they saw as a liberal monopoly on policy expertise. It was a conscious effort to break that dominance.
And out of this strategic shift came a really key player, didn't it? The Heritage Foundation.
Ah, yes. Heritage.
Founded 73, Edwin Fielner, Paul Weyrich. What made Heritage so different from, say, AEI right from the start?
Heritage was distinct right out of the gate, unlike AEI's more, academic style.
Yeah.
Heritage prioritized what Stahl calls rapid policy brokerage and direct political influence over traditional scholarly research. It was a radical departure.
So less theory, more action.
Exactly. Stahl highlights that Heritage's whole model was about churning out fast ideas for policymakers and, crucially, maintaining incredibly close grassroots connections.
Plugged into the movement.
Totally. They weren't just writing papers hoping someone would read them. They wanted immediate impact. They were plugged into the conservative movement on the ground.
That's a powerful shift in strategy, and the core insight here, as Stahl unpacks it, is how this focus on speed and influence, this churning out fast ideas, it changed what counted as valid policy input, didn't it?
Fundamentally.
Moved it away from pure academic rigor towards, well, ideological appeal. This is where he really digs into that concept of the marketplace of ideas.
Yes, the marketplace of ideas. It's Stahl's central concept here, and it's truly revolutionary in how he explains it. It basically legitimized ideological competition within policy debates,
Okay.
often explicitly prioritizing that competition over analytical rigor. The underlying idea was that all ideological perspectives deserved a hearing, deserved representation.
Regardless of the evidence.
Well, regardless of their analytical strength or objective evidence, yeah. It wasn't about finding the single best policy through careful technocratic study.
Right.
It was about ensuring a whole range of ideologically driven options were out there, competing, almost like products in a market. It sort of democratized truth in policy, you could argue.
And this approach, it really paid off, didn't it? Especially during what Stahl calls Stage 3, institutional dominance, starting in the 80s.
Big time. Conservative think tanks hit a new level of influence during the Reagan era.
And the prime example, the one that really cemented this new model, was Heritage's mandate for leadership. Right?
Absolutely. That wasn't just a suggestion list. It was a comprehensive policy blueprint, thousands of pages, designed specifically for the incoming Reagan administration.
Wow. And what was the impact of that beyond just the document itself?
Oh, it wasn't just influential on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Stahl documents how Heritage actively helped staff both Reagan administrations.
Really? Putting their people in place.
Directly, showing their direct pipeline to power. And they also became a go-to source for media commentary on policy.
Shaping the public conversation.
Exactly, shaping public perception, framing the debate. And what's fascinating here is how ideas that maybe were once considered niche or even fringe suddenly gained mainstream traction, gained legitimacy.
Yeah.
Often just by being consistently pushed and advocated for.
And Stahl uses supply-side economics as the paradigmatic example of how this process worked.
That's his key case study, yeah.
An idea that was ideologically appealing fit conservative principles,
Right.
but, arguably analytically weak in the eyes of many traditional economists at the time.
Lots of debate there.
Yet, through constant promotion by think tanks like Heritage, it gained huge credibility, became a cornerstone of policy. It really shows how ideological appeal started to outweigh rigorous analysis in this new marketplace.
It perfectly illustrates that shift. So, up to now, we've traced this amazing rise of conservative influence. But here's where Stahl's analysis takes a really surprising turn.
Okay.
He reveals how liberal institutions, kind of paradoxically, reacted to this success. Not by offering a strong ideological counterweight, but by moving rightward themselves.
Wait, really? So instead of pushing back, they sort of adapted.
Adapted is one way to put it. This is where the story gets even more complex and, frankly, quite challenging.
That's a fascinating twist. Stahl is arguing liberals, seeing conservative success, didn't just hold their ground, but actually changed their playbook.
That's the core of this part of this argument.
So what were the biggest implications of that internal shift for the Democratic Party itself? How did it change its relationship with its, traditional base?
The main players he identifies in this abrupt shift were the Democratic Leadership Council, the DLC.
Right, founded mid-'80s by Al Frum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And its think tank, the Progressive Policy Institute, or PPI, founded a bit later, 89.
Okay.
These groups were really instrumental in shifting the Democratic Party away from what Stahl terms movement-based politics.
Grassroots stuff, labor union.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Shifting away from that towards a more business-friendly centrism, they consciously tried to create this new Democrat identity.
Trying to win back Reagan Democrats, maybe?
That was part of the calculus. And what's crucial here is how the DLC actively used the term liberal fundamentalists.
Ooh, that's a loaded term.
It really is. A label designed to dismiss those they saw as sticking too rigidly to, outdated or maybe electorally unviable progressive ideas.
To marginalize them.
Precisely. To marginalize both new social movements and the traditional labor-based coalitions within the Democratic Party.
And Stahl goes even further. He shows how Jesse Jackson became almost the symbol of what the DLC wanted to move away from.
Yeah, Jackson is a key figure in this part of the analysis.
His Rainbow Coalition, his focus on grassroots movements, that was seen as the exact opposite of the New Democrat vision.
The antithesis, as Stahl puts it. His marginalization really exemplified this broader rightward drift of the Democratic Party through the 90s.
It wasn't just policy then, it was deeper, cultural, strategic.
A deep cultural and strategic shift within the party itself. Yes. If we tie this back to the bigger picture, Stahl's work keeps coming back to that central theme, the successful creation of that marketplace of ideas.
Where ideological competition trumped technocratic expertise.
Exactly. This concept, as we've discussed, it legitimized conservative views, not necessarily based on analytical rigor, but on the principle that all ideological perspectives deserved a place in the debate. That fundamentally changed the whole landscape of public discussion.
And with that came the decline of what Stahl calls liberal technocratic ideals. That whole idea that policies should be based on objective expertise, rigorous analysis.
Right. Now, Stahl acknowledges that technocratic approach had its own issues, its own blind spots, for sure.
Yeah, it was imperfect.
No. But he argues, pretty compellingly, I think, that its displacement by ideological competition ultimately degraded the quality of policy debate.
That's a strong claim, but his evidence really makes you think.
It does.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much our political parties today truly reflect the will of their actual grassroots supporters versus these elite strategies?
Yeah, that's a huge question his work raises. And a persistent theme, a motif throughout Stahl's book, is the rightward movement of the entire American political spectrum.
Not just conservatives moving right, but the center shifting too.
Exactly. It wasn't just conservative institutions shifting. Even historically liberal institutions adopted conservative framing, conservative policy positions, partly in response to this think tank influence. It's a systemic drift, a profound recalibration of what counts as mainstream political thought. And what's fascinating here is how this shift raises big questions about expertise itself. What is legitimate policy expertise in a democracy? Conservative think tanks successfully challenged the monopoly held by liberal academic expertise. But Stahl suggests they might have replaced it with something potentially more dangerous.
Which is?
The idea that ideological appeal, how good an idea sounds or feels, matters more than analytical rigor or factual accuracy.
That sounds familiar today.
It resonates, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And delving deeper, Stahl doesn't ignore the role of racial politics in all this.
No, he definitely addresses it.
He shows how racial politics were central to both conservative and centrist strategies, especially marginalizing black political leaders like Jesse Jackson.
It wasn't just accidental.
No, he argues it served broader conservative goals, delegitimizing progressive coalitions, reshaping the Democratic Party's appeal. By the way, if you're finding this discussion thought-provoking, remember we offer Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel. It's AI book analysis designed to spark reflection and rational thought on complex ideas, just like these ones in Stahl's book.
Definitely check that out.
Yeah. Stahl also elaborates on what he calls the elite preference for technocratic governance over genuine democratic participation.
Meaning
It's reflected in the DLC's suspicion of movement-based politics. It suggests sort of discomfort with the messy, maybe unpredictable nature of mass movements, preferring a more controlled, top-down way of doing policy and politics.
What's truly remarkable about Stahl's work, reading it now, is how prescient it feels.
It really does.
It was written before the Trump era, but it basically describes the exact conditions that allowed for our current post-truth political discourse.
He lays the groundwork. Stahl actually views Trump in a really compelling analysis as the logical endpoint of this marketplace of ideas logic,
The culmination of it all.
where ideological appeal and emotional resonance just completely overwhelm factual accuracy. It's a diagnosis of our current political talk that feels spot on.
Absolutely.
And Stahl's book, it's had a significant scholarly impact. It really did establish a new field of inquiry, providing crucial context for understanding, contemporary American political dysfunction, the rise of post-truth politics.
It's been well received.
Very. Reviewers praised its originality, its compelling, even chilling analysis, as one put it. Jane Mayer at The New Yorker said it's the right book for anyone hoping to understand how America's political discourse has been influenced by private think tanks funded by corporate money.
High praise.
It really illuminates how American political talk shifted from that technocratic ideal toward ideological competition, fundamentally changing policy debate. And this transformation, as Stahl shows, it hit both conservative and liberal institutions, creating the polarized environment we're in today. For those interested in digging even deeper, remember we offer mindful moments and other analyses on our YouTube channel and through our podcasts, great AI book analysis to inspire reflection and rational thought.
This discussion of right moves really gives us such a powerful framework for understanding how we got here.
It really does.
So as you navigate today's information landscape, and maybe consider, are we still operating in that marketplace of ideas, or have we maybe moved beyond it into something else entirely?
A sobering thought.
And what does that mean for our ability to find common ground, or even, common facts? To explore Jason Stahl's brilliant work further, click the link on screen for the in-depth book analysis.
It's well worth the read.
Definitely. Subscribe, share this discussion with others, and consider purchasing the book via the link. And most importantly, think critically about the information that shapes our world.